I started learning Carnatic music when I was a child for about 2-3 years, between the age of about 7 and 10. But I was really not very interested. I didn't realize what a beautiful opportunity I was getting. So I stopped, and then when I turned into my 20s, I regained interest in it again. And I learned for a few years as an adult. Carnatic music is music of South India. The compositions are either in Sanskrit or Tamil or Telugu or Kannada, usually one of these 4 languages.
மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா குறையொன்றும் இல்லை கண்ணா குறையொன்றும் இல்லை கோவிந்தா கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாமல் நிற்கின்றாய் கண்ணா கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாமல் நின்றாலும் எனக்கு குறையொன்றும் இல்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா வேண்டியதை தந்திட வெங்கடேசன் என்றிருக்காய் வேண்டியது வேறில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா மணிவண்ணா மலையப்பா கோவிந்தா கோவிந்தா.
Singing is a natural human activity.
Singing, I think, could be defined as extended speech with pitch.
Singing is using your voice expressively.
Learning about anatomy is helpful to singers so they can learn the coordination required to create a balanced sound. Singing is more like sports coordination, so by learning how the body works and the function and the anatomy, it helps you understand and create the habits that are required to create a balanced sound.
Unlike a musician who plays an instrument like a guitar or a flute, when you sing, you are the instrument. And so in the same way that I would want to learn about my flute and how to take care of it and how to get the best sound out of it, the same is true of the human instrument. So I need to be able to understand what parts of my body need to resonate, what parts need to be relaxed, what parts need to open and sound.
There are 3 main things that are required to balance to get a creative, beautiful sound. And of course, there's more than just getting a sound in singing, but for just creating that beautiful tone, we need to coordinate the breathing, which is how we power the voice. We need to coordinate the larynx and how the larynx comes together on the onset, so we have balance in the larynx, and also coordinate the relaxation in the face. So it becomes something like this, where we need to find the energy down below and the relaxation on top, and to allow the muscles to relax so everything can flow.
Overall health is, of course, important, but mostly the respiratory system.
One of the most important things to become aware of is breathing. So, for example, the thing that drives our sound and allows us to create a sustained sound and a powerful sound, even if that sound is a soft sound, that involves breath. And to get a full breath, you need to be aware that you have to fill your lungs from the bottom to the top. And you need to be aware of the diaphragm, which is a bell-shaped muscle below your internal organs. When you take a deep breath, your belly moves out, the diaphragm flattens, and then you have a lot of breath that can sustain the sound. Also important is just having the throat relaxed and open, because that allows me to bring resonance into my chest for lower tones, and it allows me to produce a powerful but relaxed sound.
Besides learning the basic coordination of bringing the beautiful tone, I think the other aspects that make a singer great are how they, well, technically as far as the diction, having good diction, enunciating the words correctly. Sometimes diction can create problems for singers. Even English native speakers can really struggle with the English language. And besides the English and the language of what you're singing, there is other musical elements depending on the style, like rhythm and phrasing, which can create problems for singers.
I think there's a spiritual component, if you want to call it that. It's a happy bird to sing. And so if you're happy and you're a well-connected person, that definitely adds to the singer's ability to communicate.
A lack of self-consciousness, where you're relaxed and you feel like it's a very natural thing to be doing. Because if you're relaxed in your mind and in your mental attitude, that allows your body to be more relaxed.
Well, I think the biggest relaxation technique for people is to really loosen the jaw. The loose jaw is really key. So a lot of people hold their jaw tight. A lot of singers push their jaw out. Some singers, even who sing rock and roll, feel like they have to fight in the song, to get the sound out. Now, all those habits are going to create a tense sound. And I tell people that may work to a point, but usually you can't take the voice any further. So what a lot of people need to do is let the jaw hang. So for a more classical sound, we're going to have this loose jaw, loose inhale, not gasping, learning how to feel the flow in the voice. But even in the pop, rock, R&B, which is more of this brighter phase, you're still going to have the jaw going down and releasing and not the chin coming forward. So I would say learning to take an inhale with a nice relaxed face, with an open mouth, and learning to sing without feeling the face engage. The face muscles, the lips, the tongue, the cheeks do not need to engage whatsoever to create a tone. In fact, the more we get that relaxation in the face, the better our sound will be. And that is true for any genre. We are going to shape the vowels, but it's a passive shaping. And they're shape the face for the different styles we're going for. I think there's one other thing that might be said, and it's not about the technique, but it's about what makes a great singer. And I think it's about finding the text, the meaning in the text. I am really careful with my students that they sing music they really feel a connection with, because the great singers that we all are inspired by, when they sing, you feel like they're telling my story. I feel them. I feel their soul. I feel them. So it's easy for singers to sing something but not feel it. You can sing a song and be thinking about going on a date when you're done, but that's not going to have that connection. So I think for singers, especially beginners, but everyone, find music that you love, that you can relate to. And that is also for young singers. I have, young girls at 14, and they want to sing jazz. Well, they can't sing the "Oh, my man left me" and "I'm poor me" songs. They haven't experienced that. So it's important that you find music that you love, but also that you've experienced, because then you can tell that story. Because even though I said country and folk are storytelling music, all music is storytelling. All music tells a story. And so besides the beautiful tone, what we're working with, coordinated, technically clean, we've all heard singers like that they sound good, they're singing, but we don't feel it. I'm not feeling it. And it's because you have to dig inside of yourself and expose your feelings in your song and find music that you can do that you've experienced in your real life, the text and the story.
One morning when the sun wouldn't shine, I was walking down the street not feeling too fine. I came for men with a bottle between them, and this was the song I heard them singing. Oh Lord, preserve and protect us, we've been drinking whiskey for breakfast. Well, I went right over where they was sitting, and I couldn't believe how drunk they was getting. I said, "You boys been sitting here long?" They said, "Long enough to be singing that song. Oh Lord, preserve and protect us, we've been drinking whiskey for breakfast." And it felt so good, I just couldn't quit. I had a little more, and the next thing you knew, there were three of us sitting there singing this tune. Oh Lord, preserve and protect us, we've been having whiskey for breakfast. And one by one, everybody in the town, they all heard the ruckus and they all came down. And the next thing you knew, the streets was ringing with the sound of the whole town laughing and singing. Oh Lord, preserve and protect us, we've been drinking whiskey for breakfast.
Consonants are a puff of air, and so when we sing a consonant, we are actually not singing, but creating a stop or start. So consonants can help us in singing by giving us energy to connect with the energy. It also helps us enunciate. So a lot of times when singers sound muddy, there's not enough consonants.
Consonants are like the container that shapes the sound. So for example, if you have water, you can put it in different kinds of containers, they give it a different shape. So consonants tend to be very percussive and they shape things. Ta, ti, ma, mu. Those things allow you to shape the sound.
Vowels are actually what we sing on. That's where the tone is sung through. We cannot sing through the consonants unless they're the nasal, which is the N, N, and ing. But besides that, we sing on the vowels, and having a clean vowel is key to good singing. Sometimes vowels are muddy or they change, or people struggle finding that pure vowel. And the pure vowels can change depending on the vocal style. And sometimes we need to modify vowels to get the right effect in the part of the range that we're working towards.
Vowels carry the soul.
In my earlier analogy, where consonants provide the container, water would be a good analogy for vowels. So vowels allow you to create a powerful sound that is sustained.
Falsetto is one of those terms where there's a lot of misunderstanding about, or a lot of difference of opinion. My opinion on falsetto, what I determined to be a falsetto, is mostly used in the male voice. It is the male's voice, which I call the girly voice. That's my terminology. So men that sing, ha, people like Prince, Adam Levine uses some falsetto now, pops into that more lighter quality of singing.
Falsetto is often called the head voice, and it's a way that a singer can expand the range of their sound. So a note that you might be able to, that you might have difficulty sounding very high, with practice you can reach that in a falsetto.
Diphthongs are combinations of vowels.
Diphthongs are a really tricky thing for singers. I look at diphthongs as like an analogy of walking in a pasture in the dark, and there's potholes, and you are walking into the potholes unknowingly. So a diphthong can be that for a singer. A diphthong is a vowel sound that changes. So in Italian and some of the Latin languages, we have two vowels right in a row, and we can identify them clearly, io. But in English, because English is a mix of different languages, diphthongs can be difficult to ascertain. The primary diphthongs in English are the I diphthong, which is like the long I sound. And the diphthong sound for I, which is in every song, I, is I. The other diphthong that's really common is the A diphthong, which is A. See how I'm twanging it? The other diphthongs that are really challenging is the oi diphthong, boy, toy, joy, and the ow diphthong, how. So it's ow. So the rule of thumb usually with diphthongs is to stay on the open part of the vowel. So if I'm going to sing how, I'm going to sing how. The longer you hold the note out, the more important it is for you to understand how the diphthong works.
It's important to discover what your range is, because there'll be a certain range of notes that you can sing effectively and sound good. If you go below those notes, not so good. Higher may not sound very good at all.
When we think about range for singers, we're typically referring to the notes that singers are comfortable singing. So that would be your lowest range and your highest range as far as the high notes and the low notes. Resonance, I think, from a scientific standpoint, is sound that has efficient sound waves. The sound waves are like this. So a resonant sound isn't necessarily a loud sound, although it can be. You can have a soft sound that's resonant. You can have a loud sound that is not resonant, like a vacuum cleaner. So in the voice, what we're trying to do is, when we want to create great voices, we want to increase the resonance. Doesn't matter what genre you're singing, the more we create resonance in the voice, the more presence that voice will have, both live and in the studio.
Pitch is simply a rise or drop in frequency. So for example, I might be speaking high, and then I might be speaking low. So that's just simply pitch. The rise of pitch, as notes go up and down in relation to the root tone, or as in Indian music, what we call sa, there is an emotional quality to that. And melody is a very strong element that's found in, for example, Celtic music in the British Isles, but also in the ragas. And of course, you can build songs nowadays that are based on a groove or on a rhythm or just a lot of interesting chords and instrumentation. But some music has a very strong melody. And of course, if you're going to sing something a cappella, for example, then you need a strong melody because you don't have all the other elements to add interest. In music, harmony usually refers to how the notes being played at the same time are related to each other. So, for example, in Western music, one of the great accomplishments of Western music is harmony. In an orchestra, there may be 30 instruments playing at the same time, and they're all playing different notes, and they fit beautifully together. And they create these walls of sound that are just very powerful and very moving. A cappella just means that the song is unaccompanied. From someone who truly feels comfortable with that and can manage to sing in tune without another reference tone to their voice, it can be the most emotionally engaging form of singing. However, it's also the most naked form of singing because there's literally nothing else there to prop you up. It's just your voice. So you must be very comfortable in your skin and be very confident about what you're doing.
सलाम के लिए हाजिर गुलाम हो जाए।
दिल दी चंगेर विच आसां हैन रखियां मीटियां ना जान तेरी दीद बिना अखियां दिल दी चंगेर विच आसां हैन रखियां मीटियां ना जान तेरी दीद बिना अखियां धुंध लाया जावे शीशा नजरां दे नूर दा नजरां दे नूर दा
बन के साक़ी जो यहाँ मालिक के कौसर आए बन के साक़ी जो यहाँ मालिक के कौसर आए अर्श से सूए ज़मीं नूर के सागर आए अर्श से
me vas a amar.
带我去马场跨木的沙经过日子，带我去马场跨木的沙经过日子，带我去马场跨木的沙经过日子，带我去马场跨木的沙经过日子。
Singing is not something that we learn from people from another planet. It's something that comes naturally. And in fact, you can watch any baby, you know, they start to make sounds, and if you let them, if they're encouraged, they're doing something that's like singing. So it's a truly human activity. And so naturally anyone can do it.
Great question. I think it's the humanity of it. I think about singers. Now, musicians and instrumentalists, pardon me, singers are musicians, but instrumentalists can use the instrument to express themselves, and they can see the humanity in that. But when a singer sings, it's more raw, it's more open, and it's, someone used the analogy, and I hope this is appropriate, singing is like being naked with your clothes on. And I feel like that's really true. A great singer helps you to come into your humanity, and you feel what they feel, and it moves you in a way that I think is very powerful and very human and very basic.
Perhaps it's just the human soul coming through the air.
There are all kinds of voices, and it's just a matter of commerce and current trends as to what sounds, you know, what sounds good, what sounds marketable. In the music industry, many people will counsel singers to copy the latest trend. If something is popular, then make something else like that. Unfortunately, although that can produce some success, it doesn't allow you to stand out from the crowd. And there are lots of examples of people who just were so unique that they were incomparable and nobody could duplicate what they did. And an example of that is James Brown. When he was first captured on film in the early days of rock and roll, he made such a impact that the Rolling Stones, who were supposed to be on after him, were afraid to go out because his performance was so emotionally overwhelming. Other examples of people like that are Bob Dylan, who many people would say at the time, you should get some voice lessons because your voice doesn't sound like we think a voice should sound on a record. But of course, we all know how that turned out. And now, people with voices of all sorts feel permission to do that because of that. On the other hand, there were many people who tried to be the next Bob Dylan, and it was often heralded in the press. But of course, there was no new Bob Dylan. And even somebody like, say, Bruce Springsteen, who has some similarities, he of course was his own man and became like a new model to strive for. Other people like that, of course, are Jimi Hendrix, who just was so totally unique that nobody can duplicate it.
Bob Dylan, exactly, great example. Louis Armstrong, hello, Dolly. You know, really gruff. Janis Joplin. Now, some people might say, well, those people, I love them. I love Janis Joplin. She's amazing. But I don't think anyone would call her singing pretty. So there are tons of singers that don't have a, quote, pretty voice. I don't think that's required. I think it's required for certain genres. So then we're going back to what genre is appropriate. You know, some genres have a lot more flexibility as far as different voices, and other genres like opera, we want to have a beautiful voice. But even in the opera, we have some voices that are kind of edgy, and people wouldn't necessarily call them pretty. They're strong and powerful, but They may not be as beautiful to some ears because it's really loud and it's really edgy.
Well, what is beauty? You know, that's subjective. But there are a lot of rock singers, and there's this genre called screamo where people go, which I certainly don't find beautiful, but some people do. Slow like a river, flowing out to sea, swift as a bird in flight, we long to be free. Climb to the mountain tops, see what you can see. With eyes like an eagle's, we search to be free. But how can we find our way? Going round and round and round. There's got to be a way, but to date the truth has not been found. Hiding like a snake in the grass, won't come out. Afraid of what will pass, afraid of what will pass. Oh yeah.
So let's talk about being prepared for a vocalist coming into the studio to get the best performance and the best end result so that the song sounds as good as possible. Like any of the musicians, the first and foremost is to come in prepared. Prepared can mean a broad range of things, of course. Let's consider several variables of being prepared. The most important is to know the song inside out. Be familiar with all aspects of it. Don't come into the studio thinking that you'll come in fresh and you'll do a song you've never heard before and you'll give it your best. That will never result in the best end result. Coming in with a song that you know every lyric to without reading a lyric sheet, having it memorized, something that you've done over and over so that you're able to do it totally relaxed without thinking. This will always lead to the best sound.
Well, rock tends to be in the upper voice. Rock is edgy and dangerous. I think that's the quality of rock singing. And it's usually sung close to the break or the passaggio, which is the Italian word. So you need a lot of energy. You need a lot of this face. Now, rock tends to use a lot of the hey, that sound. So a rock sound would be like Heart. We live in Seattle. Heart's a great band to emulate, at least for me. So we have crazy on you, crazy. Very bright face, very edgy, a slight snarl in the sound to get that edgy sound. And that's without adding any noise like the screamo or grit, and that's maybe a different subgenre. But basic rock, I think, is that edgy, energized, high intensity vocals.
R&B singers have had a lot of opera training, even if they don't realize it. But in churches, there's always the gospel singing. It comes from the gospel tradition. So there's a lift in the soft palate, and a lot of thyroarytenoid. I believe the children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. So an opera singer would, let them. But R&B stays a little more on the thyroarytenoid edge, but keeps the resonator of an opera singer.
Rhythm and blues. Rhythm and blues comes and is related to jazz. It's a kind of as someone said, they're cousins. It's more of a contemporary style. Now, rhythm and blues has gone from old school rhythm and blues to embrace more contemporary forms. Rhythm and blues I think of it as groove. There's more groove in it. Now, rock has groove too, but it's more of an edgy kind of groove, where the R&B groove is kind of that smooth. There's a smoothness to it, and it tends to have a different vibe to it. It's more romance or, flow. So the R&B singing tends to have more flow in it. It's not as angular as rock. And there's also a lot of what we call roulade, runs is what people call them, but there's a lot of improv that goes on. Now again, there's improv in rock as well, so they do somewhat merge for some people, but R&B would be like chain, 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 chain of fools. So there's a little bit of the voice moving, and we have that groove that's constantly going on because it's dance music. A lot of it's for dancing or romancing, I'll put it that way. So that's kind of where R&B is. Pop, I think, means different things to different people, especially today. Pop is what's popular. But I think if we're looking at what we call pure pop, we're looking at music that's maybe a little more lighthearted, maybe not as intense. Or I think of classic pop ballads like Whitney Houston. So I think Whitney is an example of a great pop singer, but it depends on what's popular, what's more middle of the road, I would say. Accessible melodies. I think one thing about pop music, if you look at it from a compositional element, is that there's a lot of hooks. It's hook driven. There's a lot of repetition, and they're music that people can sing easily, where some of the R&B singers are very difficult to cover and sing along, as are the rock singers. So pop tends to be a little bit more accessible for people to sing and appreciate.
Pop music today has quite a bit of Broadway belt in it. As the audience gets used to more higher and higher frequencies. So artists like Katy Perry have started to push the boundaries to the point where all pop singers really need to have good singing technique. So baby, we're a firework. So you see that it's kind of on that thin edge. It doesn't have the that R&B has, but it's more just a thinner vocal cord connection.
Jazz is music that actually began in New Orleans, and it's the merging of the African culture of the slaves that came to this country, merging with the classical and folk traditions of Europe. So jazz has many subgenres that has come to it, but generally what comes with jazz is about swing, which is a certain groove, and improv. So there's lots of subgenres of jazz, but swing is that do-ba-do-da-do-da-do, fly me to the moon and let me sing among the stars. So we have that sort of groove. Jazz also includes scat singing. So scat singing is so improving. The other thing about jazz is that it's very interactive. So jazz music tends to be very loose. People follow a chart. The band says, okay, we're going to sing this song. We're going to do it in the key of F. I'm going to count it off. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. And then everybody's going to interact live. Tends to be a little less structured, more chances for the band and the singer to interact and explore. I think hip hop tends to embrace beyond just the vocal style, but also more street traditions, including rap now. I think hip hop began with the hip hop beat, which is which has a bit more of the swing. It's a related swing genre. There is swing besides jazz. There's country swing, reggae swings, and there's a little hip hop swing. But hip hop, I think, now has become more urban. It has merged into an urban expression that is definitely influenced by rap.
I love hip hop. It's percussive. So hip hop is all about rhythm, and it's all about making the consonants kind of pat.
Traditionally folk music is the old folk songs that go back to the British Isles or America's history. And I think you could conclude bluegrass and some of those traditions. They tend to be storytelling songs. And then if we look in the 1960s, folk was music that people would sing as protest music. I think folk music is kind of coming back now. It seems to be that was really old school stuff, but folk is now, I think, having a renaissance. It's very lyric and story driven, related to country on some levels where we're telling stories. Traditionally, the folk music would be telling stories of battles or work songs people felt happy with. They tend to have simpler chord progressions, very easy to sing. Usually folk music isn't very difficult, although it can be very beautiful, especially Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? There's a lot of wonderful folk on that movie and some beautiful singing as well.
Country music has like, I got a beer and a dog and a truck, let's go. It's just very relaxed. The soft palate is lowered and the vocal folds they're kind of thick.
Country is somewhat related to folk music, but I think we have a little bit of pop thrown in, and then we have a little bit of country rock as well. I think country is really one of those genres now that has subgenres within it. Country music is obviously from parts of the country which is not around here in Seattle, but typically Nashville, Kentucky, that area. Country music has some country swing, but it also has a lot of instrumentation like slide guitar. I think when you hear slide guitar, you think it's country music. And again, country music tends to deal with a lot of storytelling, like folk. So they're kind of related. And there's a lot of storytelling in folk and storytelling in country music about stories about people. So I think the lyrics are really different. The quality of lyrics tend to be in country music. And there's also the blues element, which is another type of music that kind of spans genres. We have rock blues, we have country blues, and we definitely have R&B blues as well as jazz blues.
I was born by a river in a little tent, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. There's a change is coming, but I know it's gonna come. Oh, yes, it is.
That's probably more experimental. I'm not sure. I think of New York, because I know on the New York East Coast, they tend to do a little more out there stuff. That can be anything goes. I think there's a lot of exploration, everything from screaming sounds to spoken language, just exploration. And I think the thing with avant-garde is you got to make sure that you're using your voice in a safe and healthy way. No matter what you're singing, whether it's punk, screamo, the goal is to have a technique that is consistent for you so you can get up and do it again. So any vocal music that you plan to perform, especially professionally, it's important that your technique is sustainable and you're not going to suffer from vocal problems, which of course happens all the time.
it's kind of just all over the map, so it's more expressive. So if you think of like modern painting, it would just be, just as in modern painting, like obviously the painter can sit down and draw a human body perfectly, but they choose more the expressive end of that. So in Pierre Luneau, it's like there's a part that's talking about the moon, so it'd be an expression of the moon. So instead of going, the moon, kind of, the moon is full and wide.
Opera. Okay, opera is actually music that kind of came about in Europe, primarily in Italy. And opera started when Italy at the time was a bunch of city-states, and it was during the Renaissance when they discovered the Greek plays. And so the court composers thought of trying to recreate these myths, Orpheus in the underworld, and they wrote music mostly for the court musicians to perform. Well, it became popular, and as it grew in popularity, it began moving into bigger halls. The thing about opera is that it is unamplified. It was invented at a time when there was no amplification. So singers had to develop a vocal style which enabled them to project into large halls. When opera began in Italy, in the little concerts at the courts, that requirement wasn't as important. But as it began to sing in bigger and bigger halls, and additionally the orchestra became larger and larger, it became important that people train to like linebackers to really project that voice. Likewise, a lot of opera singers who sing the music with the big orchestras, the Wagnerians, are built like linebackers. There's a lot of guys in the NFL who have gone into singing opera, and that is for real, because they have the bone structure and then they've gotten the training to project the voice. Opera is really demanding. It's probably the most demanding form for a singer to pursue. Most opera singers have trained a minimum of 10 years before they sing professionally. Not only do they need to learn to project the voice and have that power and do it consistently, but they also have to learn languages. Most opera singers sing in French, Italian, English, German, and there's some people that sing in Russian, and they also have to learn stagecraft. It's incredibly demanding art form. It's very fun to do. It's what I call an acquired taste. A lot of singers don't like opera, and I totally understand it. It seems very foreign to our ears. But when you hear good opera, especially because opera is like Shakespeare, it's designed to be seen on the stage. So listening to opera, people go, I don't like it. But when you hear it in context with a stage production with really great singers, it can make a powerful impact.
Hear the queen of the flowering mountains to the south-billed Labrador. She's long and tall and handsome, she's loved by one and all. She's a modern combination of the Wabash Cannonball. Listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, riding through the woodlands to the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engines, hear the lonesome hobo squall, riding through the jungles on the Wabash Cannonball. Here we go! the great Atlantic Ocean to the white Pacific shore. Yeah, the queen of the flowering mountains to the south belle by the door. She's long and tall and handsome, she's loved by one and all. She's a modern combination of the Wabash Cannonball. Listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, riding through the woodlands to the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engines, hear the lonesome provost roar, riding through the jungles on the Wabash Cannonball. Here we go!
The crowning achievement of Western music is the use of harmony. So you can see that in a classical music orchestra of Western music, where there may be 20, 30 instruments all playing at once, creating dense layers of sound, a big sound, a sound that just fills the auditorium and penetrates your body. It's a very modern form of music. Western music only recognizes 12 notes to the octave, and it primarily uses two types of scales, a major scale and a minor scale. And while you can get interesting sounds with melody and chords, and in fact that's the basis of modern pop music, all of the background layers of sound created by all kinds of instruments, synthesizers, drums, guitars, the use of all of those instruments with the voice in the background is very exciting. It's very thrilling.
السير والزنوت صاد 도노 와다시르 하시나라즈
Indian music comes from an oral tradition passed from person to person over the millennia. And it's a type of music that's based out of listening, a very kind of attentive listening. And instead of using layers of sound, Indian music is focused primarily on one instrument at a time. That instrument doesn't have a chord. It might have like a sustained tone or a drone that's in the background. Indian music, it allows you to divide the octave into 25 different portions. And rather than discrete notes, just like steps on a ladder, it represents the sliding between the notes. So for example, whereas in Western music, it would be something like do, re, mi, whereas in Indian music it would be sa, re, ga. And the moving between those notes, the sliding between the notes, that allows you to reach a level of subtlety and emotional quality that is unparalleled in Western music.
Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. Sa, da, pa, sa, re, ga, ma, re, sa, ma, pa, da, ni, re, sa, sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, re, sa. Sa, re, ga, ma, da, ni, sa. सा सा गा मा धा नी सा सा नी धा मा गा सा सा रे गा मा पा धा नी सा सा नी धा पा मा गा रे सा सा धा धा मा गा मा धा मा गा रे गा रे सा सा रे गा मा धा नी सा सा नी धा मा गा रे सा कठिन दिन जाए कठिन दिन जाए उठाए पिया बोझ सब दुख जाए सुख पाए कठिन दिन जाए कठिन दिन सारे सारे गरे गमरे गरे गम गम द गम गम ध म ध नि म ध म ध नि ध नि सा सा नि सा नि ध नि ग म नि ध नि ध म ध म ग मेरे गुण तुझसे अर्ज करते हैं मेरे गुण तुझसे अर्ज करते हैं मोरा सब दुख दूर करते हैं जे सजन घर लाए कठिन दिन जाए कठिन दिन जाए
Yes, you